Okay guys, today's a little bit different video than what I'm used to posting on this channel. Shannon recently, her and her siblings were having an estate sale up at her parents' house, and her dad collected knives. She sees these knives for sale. She's like, I don't know if those need to be sold to John Q. Public or not. I think I'd like to keep those as family heirlooms. Power to her. I'm glad she kept them. I really am. But I knew what these were, and then there's this piece. No idea what it is. Never seen one before in my life. Now, I wish I'd have taken a before picture of it, because it looks pretty good right now. Just at least from, it's not something you're going to see in the display case for a bunch of case knives, but it looks pretty good compared to what it used to look like. And I have no idea what it is. No idea whatsoever. And her dad collected knives, and it was really, he might have a case knife that they only made 1,000 of, and it might be sitting right next to a Rapala fillet knife that you can buy at Walmart. But I see this, it's all rusty. Get it? I'm like, okay, try to figure out what this thing is. Hard to open first time I opened it. It's a little bit easier now, being that I've lubricated it some. First thing I noticed, okay, it's got like a internal locking mechanism in it. I'm like, well, that's interesting. Blade's locked in place. In my everyday carry, internal locking mechanism. Matter of fact, the first hunting knife I ever had was an old timer. It wasn't a lock back. It had that internal locking mechanism on it. But I get it open. Again, the blade was all rusty. And I'm wondering if what type of a novelty item this is. It's even, there was so much rust on it, you really couldn't tell anything about it. Never had any imagination what it actually was. So I struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled. Several different types of lubricants on it to get this little blade guard off. And it's still difficult to come off. Turns out, this is a folding machete. I'm like, well, that's cool. Matter of fact, that's really cool. It feels good. It's just, you can do some work with this thing. The blade is weight forward. You could chop down some stuff with this thing. I'm like, well, that's cool. Folded up, it's about 12.5 inches long. Open up, it's 16.5 inches long. I'm like, that's all right. Well, folding machete. Never seen such a thing. Well, as I go through the process of really getting it cleaned up, I noticed that there's a little bit of a marking on it. You can bring around here to the camera. The Cattaraugus, USA. Again, never heard of such a thing. Not in a million years. What is this? I'm still figuring it's a novelty album. Well, I Googled that word, Cattaraugus. Maybe it's pronounced Cattaraugus. As I typed that word in, Google filled in the rest of the blanks and said, folding machete. Huh. Click on it. There's all these images. This knife was issued to aircrews in World War II as a bailout machete. So if you were in a plane and got shot down and you ended up in the jungle somewhere, you had a machete where you could try to cut your way out of it. And I thought, well, how about that? How cool is that? That's crazy. Never heard of these things before. You sit there and hold it, and again, if you've ever held a knife before, with this bulky handle, especially a machete, this thing can do some serious work. It's awesome. You could do some serious work. I'm not going to cut anything with it. I can tell it's been used some. I can see about from right here to up here where there are some markings on it, but my gosh, that blade is still super sharp on it. Good steel, very good steel. I'm like, well, that's an interesting find right there. Never seen one. Wish I'd had one of these as a kid, and then again, I'm glad I didn't have one as a kid, because I would have destroyed the darn thing. You know, back when I was a kid, if you had a machete, it was going to have plastic handles on it that would break off, and then you basically had a machete with 2 rivets sticking out of the handle that you take a bunch of electrical tape and wrap over that so you can still use a machete, and then you get interrogated by your father about what the heck happened to his electrical tape. But anyway, I digress. Sent a picture of this to my oldest son-in-law, who's currently a pilot in the Air Force. And he's like, you know, there is a pocket on my flight suit for a knife like that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now, granted, this company, the Cattaraugus company, was started in 1896, according to the interwebs. Oddly enough, one of its initial founders was WWII Case, who left the company in 1905 to start Case and Sons Cutlery, who, if you're a knife aficionado, you know who that is. But there were 3 companies in 1942 that the Army Air Force, which is what it was called back then, contracted to make these knives. One was this Cattaraugus company. The other was Case and Sons Cutlery. Third one was Camillus. Now, Case, still around today. Camillus, as far as I know, still around today. Never have heard of Cattaraugus before. Not before I did a little bit of research on this knife. But just going back to thinking, you know, here in 2024, you've got a pilot flying around in a flight suit that's got a slot for a knife like this. Maybe it's based on heritage. He didn't know. Maybe it's just a heritage thing. They left that slot on there just to think about it. But a lot of changes have been made in aviation in our country since 1942 and 2024. Neat find. I'm glad Shannon brought it home. This is definitely something that is an heirloom. It should not have been sold to the, you know, just John Q. public. All right, guys. That's going to do it for this video. You see these other knives out here. I've done a little bit of research. Like I said, I knew what they were. I haven't done a whole lot of major research on them. If you'd like to see a video on them, leave me some feedback, comments. Like what you see, like and subscribe. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you.